Always.
Still in my pajamas. Still a hot mess. Everything's fine.
Which one are you countering?
The Roxborough one. Whew. All right. Should we wait a couple minutes or should we just get into it? Like,
we can wait a couple minutes.
We should probably check and make sure that we're even live because that was always like a thing lately.
I checked.
Okay.
We're live.
Okay. So we've been super serious these last couple weeks, like with everything that's going on in the market and everything that's been happening. And we decided today we were going to have like a fun pot live and we were going to have a fun conversation about real estate. And it stemmed from something I was told yesterday. So we're going to talk about the funniest things we've heard, seen, or experienced in real estate today. So yesterday's winner, I was at a golf tournament and the gentleman at the golf tournament told me that there is a real estate agent here in our city who is on OnlyFans and she does house tours.
I can't even look at the screen while you tell this.
She does house tours topless. So it brought up this entire conversation about, would that be an ethics violation? Would that be illegal in some way? One of the gentlemen said he would be so mad as a seller if he found out he had to leave his property because some guy needed to see boobs and he had to go find somewhere to hang out. Do you think there's ethical lines there, Lindsay? And is this real or is this an urban legend that some dude somewhere made up about?
Okay, I mean, first of all, I think it's an urban legend because now for 24 hours I've been like Googling like crazy trying to find this supposed human and I can't find her.
Well, and neither can one of our friends who's like a private investigator. So I think it's an urban legend created by some dude who has some weird fantasy about a real estate agent being like, flip that switch, girl, turn that fireplace on.
All right, so tell the story again from the beginning. Oh, as Brady says, I can't lie, I was just Googling that, as you said. Me too, Ed. And if you find this girl, and listen, if this woman is out there somewhere, please come on our show. Like, we would love to have you.
And we'll let you wear a shirt.
So we'll let you wear a shirt. Is that what you just said?
Yes, I did.
Ed says he's working on it. Ed's going to hunt her down for us. Okay, so tell the story from the beginning again, because I have to think about how I feel about this.
So a gentleman at the tournament I was at yesterday, the golf tournament, begins to tell us a story about how there is a real estate agent in our area who shows properties topless. So essentially, I can contact her through OnlyFans and I can say, I want to go see this property at 123 Main Street. And she books the showing as if like you're a real buyer, even though you're not. And she tours the house nude, topless, while she gives you a tour. I can't.
Ed has canceled all of his appointments for the remainder of the day so that he may hunt down our elusive topless realtor. Okay, so first of all, the guys that told you this story, are they realtors?
So they were in a foursome, obviously, at a golf tournament. Two of them were not. None of the two that were real estate agents had never heard of it, which is why I was like, this is like urban legend. Like this is some like horny dude's fantasy is a woman walking around, you know, like I said, like, look at the crown molding, dirty boy, you know, like it's something like that. Not even like a real thing.
I think it could be real.
I mean, it could be. And apparently my opinion would be, it would probably be extremely lucrative.
Yeah.
Right? Like you could charge like $250 for 30-minute showing window. Like that would be crazy.
So Yeah, I don't know. I think it could be. What do you guys think? Who's watching? Who thinks that this is real? Who thinks that there's a topless realtor out there on OnlyFans? But here's what I don't understand. So this isn't someone that, like, these aren't like actual buyers, right?
No, that's the way that I understood it, is like it's basically like a fetish type thing, right? Like instead of a foot fetish, it's a real estate agent walking around in her pencil skirt and her boobies hanging out, right? Like it's a fetish thing.
Okay, so I have to tell you a story. And I'm slightly nervous about telling the story because it's highly possible that people that asked me to do this could be watching. So my career went, like, I started in new home sales 20 years ago. I was on site for 6 or 7 years for a national home builder. And then I went straight into REO, which is listing properties for banks during the recession. And that was my whole job. And the broker that I worked for was a woman in the REO side of things. And it was at this time where like social media had kind of just started and like it really wasn't a big thing. Certainly video didn't exist. Like back then I was filming video with like one of those like old school tiny little digital cameras that like barely took video or pictures. Like professional photography was not a thing. Like this was like a long time ago, right? And we were having a board meeting one day, sitting around talking about marketing ideas and things that we could do and stuff that would be like really, it would really get a lot of eyeballs. And my broker was like, I think that you should be a naked realtor. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And she was like, no, I literally think that you should video yourself in all of these like videos for open houses and property marketing, butt ass naked. And then we'll have our editing guy go in and like blur the bits and pieces, but this will be like your marketing shtick. And I was like, I don't know how long ago that was. 20s, early 20s, right? I was early 20s. I was really young. And I was like brand new at this firm. And I was like, well, I don't know if I can tell her no. So like she literally insisted that we went over to a property and filmed a video to see how this would go. And I like I talked to my mom about it. Like I was like a little girl and I was like, I do not want to do this. And she was like, well, then you just have to tell them that. But no, so like, I definitely think that this story could be real.
I think anything can be real nowadays, right? And like OnlyFans has allowed a space where like fetishes and things like this kind of live and thrive and are a thing. And my opinion would be though, at what point is it an ethical, because we were trying to figure this out last night. Like, is this person technically breaking any laws?
Well, so Sarah says, what about cameras in the house? And that was literally the comment that I made yesterday. I said, could you even imagine like being a seller? Because everyone on planet Earth right now at least has a Ring doorbell. Most of them have camera systems outside or inside their houses. Like, could you even imagine being a seller and watching this encounter happen? Like, does she show up in like a trench coat and then just like open up her boobies? Like, this is absolutely crazy to me. Sarah says, by the way, I'm dead.
I mean, but that was one of the questions like we had yesterday, like while we were kind of sitting there talking about this, because my husband was there and my husband was like, well, don't they have to disclose that there's cameras in the house? And I'm like, well, we're supposed to if we know about it, right? Like but sometimes your seller doesn't tell you that they put a camera in the house.
And the actual answer to that question, by the way, is
only one person needs to know that there's recordings happening, correct?
Well, the actual answer is that they're just not admissible in court. Mm-hmm. So you can record whatever the hell you please inside or outside of your own property. But then, I don't know, let's say I caught you showing your tatas around to some random person who wasn't a buyer inside my property, and I wanted to sue you over it. Those recordings can't be used in court, whether it's audio or video. So the rule is you can record whatever you want. However, it can't technically be used in court. Now, everyone's different boards and real estate commissions and all their like governing stuff probably has different rules about what they want you to do as a real estate agent for disclosure on whether or not people are recording, but we don't know always, but you should always assume, right? Like you should always assume that there is, you're being videotaped. So like, how is that unethical? I mean, I
think it's unethical. I think at a minimum,
in like a lot of ways.
I would say that at a minimum, our boards would say completely not okay, right? That's what he's going to Google is actually what Ed's off to go do right now.
What really happened is Ed found her and he's calling her
for a showing.
He's going for a showing.
But I think like at a minimum, it's an ethical violation. And I don't really know if I think there's anything like illegal about it, right? Like,
well, I don't know, but I mean, there has to be. Okay, so first of all, this is where real estate gets real weird to me in general. And like, I feel like I talk about this all the time, like a broken record. We are the Wild West. Like lawyers have the law. Like they have like very clear laws and rules. And we're like, I don't know, the contract's pretty gray and, you know, whatever, like our codes say this, but there has to be something somewhere at the beginning of all of it that says like, it isn't okay to just be parading fake people around someone's property anyways, whether you're naked or not.
Right.
Like, you're supposed to bring actual buyers, right? Like, this is wild.
But this is what we were talking about yesterday. Like, because to them, not being half of the crowd's not in the real estate space, right? And then the other half of the crowd was in the real estate space. So the half of the crowd that's not in the real estate space is going, this is absolutely unequivocally black and white, absolutely wrong, absolutely recourse, right? Like this, and the three of us are over here going, maybe.
I mean, what if they were actual buyers? Or like, what if she had an attorney and her attorney said like, but this is how she markets to get buyers. And like, we all know every single buyer that goes through every listing on planet Earth has not been, like some of them have not been fully pre-approved.
Correct.
We, you know, sometimes us in our careers made mistakes. Everyone's made a mistake. Sometimes you have shown around a buyer that can't actually buy a house. And also, how many times have you ever had a seller in your career? We're
sorry. I was just gonna say that I need to.
Ange, sorry, you're freezing. We can't hear you. I mean, how many times have you had a seller in your career go, I only want pre-approved buyers through my house? It's not even possible, right? Like if you're in the upper echelons of pricing, you know, you can require like proof of funds or a pre-approval. You know, if you were listing a $20 million house, right? Or you're listing a celebrity's house or something, like you're going to require proof of funds or a pre-approval for every buyer to come in the door, but that's not physically possible every time, especially if you're listing a property that's going to have like hundreds of showings.
Yeah. It was really funny to sit there though and watch like the group that was real estate agents and then the group that wasn't, and the group that wasn't was just very like adamant that this is absolutely 1,000% illegal, unethical. I can't even believe, like, even as a joke saying like this would be really funny. And then once they really thought about it, they were like, I would be pissed. I would be pissed if I left my house and had to go sit at a diner somewhere and it cost me $30 in an hour of my time so somebody could, you know, hire someone on OnlyFans to come entertain them in my home. You know, and the more that they talked about it, the more upset that they were getting. And so this was just one of those, I think the question was, is this an urban legend or could this potentially be real? And I think it could absolutely potentially be real. And it's so wild and crazy to think that somebody would actually be doing this, that there's no way. And I think this is absolutely a real thing.
Oh, I think it's real for sure. And if it's not just one girl here in Denver, it's probably like happens. No, I think it's real. I don't think it's just an urban legend. I think it's hilarious. I also think it's awful. Like
I feel the same way. Like part of me is like marketing genius, and the other part of me is like, this is really kind of icky, right? Like where is the line in our industry then? If this is,
can you imagine? Well, there is no line in our industry, and that's the whole reason that we have this show, because that's abundantly clear. But could you even imagine getting a phone call? Like, okay,
from your seller who's like, irate.
Because today is Real Estate Gone Wild, so we're going to tell all the silly stories that we have. So like we can go into a whole other side subject about like the insane things that our sellers call and tell us. Like, oh my God, someone used my microwave, someone peed in my toilet, someone sat on my couch, someone blah, 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 blah. Like, can you even imagine what it would be like to get a phone call from a client going, this woman is in my house topless?
I think I would go, I'm sorry, we have a bad connection. I think you just told me the showing agent's nude. Like, what? And can you please send me video, because I don't believe this.
Yeah. And, but then where do you take that? To the ethics board, to the real estate commission? Like, I guarantee that they're going to be like, what the hell do we do with this? Because I don't, like, there's nothing in our, you don't have to tell a lawyer not to show up to court with their top on. Like, no one wrote a rule that specifically says wear a fucking shirt, shoes required, no service, right?
I really wish that we had consulted with Damian Cox, our attorney, prior to getting on this call, so that we knew the actual answer to the question from the top real estate attorney in our state. We should totally text him and see if he'll answer us by the end of the show.
Text him right now. Yeah. I don't think it's an urban legend. Like, that would be something really, like, who would just make that up though? Like, that's like a really wild story to just make up, that there's a real estate agent here in Denver, right? In Colorado.
Yeah, in the city, yeah.
Who's on OnlyFans, and you can hire her to show you houses topless. Like, I don't think someone just makes that up. Like, there's a lot of grosser, weirder fetishes and things to make up if you're going to be telling stories.
I mean, honestly, I think I was texting you some of my commentary last night. Like, I was like scream laughing, like thinking about, here's your gas range. You know, like I just like couldn't even handle life last night when we were really like thinking about it. So.
But she's not like a hooker, by the way, or, they're not having sex with her. Although if you were having sex on someone's property, that's like even another thing. But
I mean, from a completely like safety standpoint, I worry about showing buyers that I don't know houses fully clothed, let alone showing a buyer that I don't know, a buyer who found me on OnlyFans, who wants me to take them to someone's property while I'm already halfway nude. That to me, take kind of the joke off the table for a second. There's some real safety concerns here. And I think like you're kind of playing with fire if this is really going on. And I think you're putting yourself in a very potentially
it's substantially more dangerous now that you bring that up than almost anything else that happens on OnlyFans, because everything else that happens on OnlyFans is done digitally. There is no safety risk. And that's why, no judgment whatsoever, I actually know women who I love and are amazing women who are in that space, and they make a killing and they do really well. And that's why they like it, because there is no safety risk. So now that we say it though, I wonder, do you think she could just be doing like a FaceTime or a virtual tour? They may not actually be physically going to the property.
Which I think would help keep her out of an ethical situation kind of also as well. Maybe. I don't know. I just like, that was one of the first things that I thought though, was like, if she's actually meeting men or women in a property, she's upping her ante already on having a dangerous encounter, was more my concern.
Super dangerous. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what to say.
I know. And this one was supposed to be really light and funny. And now we're talking about like dangerous sexual encounters. So like pivot.
Yeah, but no. Okay. So I don't think it's an urban legend. And I feel like, I hope that she finds this some way, somehow, and comes on our show, because
we'll even put a blur over your face and we won't tell anybody your name.
Disguise your voice. Like, please come on our show, because we just have to know how this works. But I find it hilarious that that would be like a fetish that somebody would be into, although people are weird.
Mm-hmm.
I hope she does it like digitally or whatever so that she doesn't actually meet people in person, because that would be really scary and dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I still don't think that there's anything from our real estate commission that says you have to wear a shirt.
We're suddenly gonna get like updated rules, and it's gonna be like you have to be fully clothed when you use the property. Like something weird's gonna come through the pipe, and we're gonna be like, was that because of us?
Okay, hang on. No, I'm literally going to Google. You keep talking. Does the National Association of Realtors
require you to wear clothing for a showing?
Yeah. Require you to wear clothing for a showing? I mean, maybe they do have a rule. Who the hell knows?
Maybe.
Well, there's an entire article that I just found. Oh, here you go. This is fun. I'll share my screen. I've never even seen this before in my life. Okay, so pathways to professionalism from the National Association of Realtors. Respect for the public. Follow the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Respond promptly to inquiries and requests for information. Schedule appointments and showings as far in advance as possible. Call if you're delayed or must cancel an appointment or showing. That actually is in writing, and how many people don't do that? If the buyer doesn't want to view the property, properly explain the situation to tell the listing broker or the agent. Handle pets appropriately. Leave your business card. If not, I honest to God did not know that all of this was in writing. Never criticize a property in the presence of the occupant. Holy wow, that's a whole thing. Speaking about talking about a property when you're on camera. Always ring the doorbell or knock. Announce yourself loudly. Present a professional appearance at all times. Dress appropriately and drive a clean car. If occupants are home during showings, ask their permission before using the telephone or bathroom. I mean, holy crap, it is like there's rules.
It's like a real thing.
Wow. Show courtesy and respect to everyone. Respect for the property. Be responsible for everyone. Okay, so yeah, like this is a whole thing. Be responsible for everyone you allow to enter listed property. Never allow buyers to enter listed property unaccompanied. When showing property, keep all members of the group together. Never allow unaccompanied access to the property without permission. Only enter with permission, even if you have a lockbox or a key combination. Leave the house as you found it. Be considerate of the seller's property. Do not allow anyone to eat, drink, smoke, dispose of trash, use bathing or sleeping facilities, or bring pets. Leave the house as you found it unless instructed otherwise.
I'd like to point out that these are all rules that were also pre-COVID. Like we all seem to think that like not using restrooms and things like that was like post-COVID. No, it's not. It's like a real thing.
I'm like shocked that this is online. This is interesting. Now I'm looking at the Code of Ethics and Standards. I'm just dying to see if there's something in here that says that you have to wear a shirt.
I mean, I think dress professional probably is what encompasses that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that there's any question, right? That like.
This is an ethics violation at a minimum. That's what I think.
Telephone. Valerie says telephone. Just found one the other day.
It's in our flip house. Yeah.
A real life telephone. Wait, we have to clean our cars? I'm not real good at that at all. Valerie says, I'm worried about my last minute showings in yoga pants and bun is not okay. I mean, we could do a whole topic, right, on like dressing and the various.
I have literally shown a property in a onesie at 8:00 at night. Like, don't care, in my onesie and slippers because we had to run out the door to go see it because it came back on the market. Like,
never your bra and panties.
Huh?
But never your bra and panties.
Not in my bra. No, not with just my bra and panties.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think it's an urban legend. I'm dying to find this person. OnlyFans created a whole new grouping of entrepreneurs, and I don't have any feelings about what they choose to do. No judgment whatsoever at all. But I gotta believe that, like, if my broker heard that I was touring people around properties naked, whether it was in person or like a virtual showing, I would probably
be fired from the company. I would, yeah. I think your license would be moved back to the state.
Can you please call Craig real quick on speakerphone?
Just gonna say this. He's not gonna play nice.
My broker is out of town. Just make sure that he knows that he's on speakerphone. But I think we're gonna dial a broker. Let's poll the audience. Let's ask him what he thinks. But this is what's weird to me. Like, we work in the weirdest industry in the world, you guys. Like, there aren't that many, like, for what we do and the level of money that we exchange and the responsibilities that we have for guarding people's wealth, because 90% of all Americans, all the wealth they have is inside their property. Like, there isn't enough rules or regulation or sanctioning. Like, it's the Wild West. It's weird. Yeah, who does that? So
apparently somebody in Denver.
If you are just jumping on, we're talking about wild and weird things that we've heard. Oh,
Craig's ready for us to call.
We're calling a broker. Angela says, I think it's genius. Instead of Popeyes, this chick is doing pop-ups. I mean, girl, Angela, I can make so many jokes.
Hi, can you hear me okay? Okay, so we're on a Facebook Live right now. And so we wanted to ask a broker question. So I was at a golf tournament yesterday, and a gentleman shared with me that there's a real estate agent in Denver who is on OnlyFans, and you can book house showings with her, and she will show you the property topless. What kind of violation or punishment would there be for something like this, do you think? Are you really silenced right now?
Yeah, I would need to talk to legal counsel about if there's any violations.
Well, Craig, it's Lindsay. Hi. So, like, if you had a broker, though, in your office and someone called you up and they were like, hey, your broker just toured some people around my listing with no shirt on, nude, like,
what would you do? Like, would you send my license back to the board? Like, that's what we're curious. Like, what would you do?
I would first contact my legal counsel and ask for advice on how to handle such a thing.
Okay. Well, we were just curious because we've been sitting here cracking up because we just didn't know what this really is. Like, is it an ethics violation? Is it a commissioner violation? Like, is it really anything? Like, who knows?
Well, I mean, I don't know, were the shades open? Could anyone else see? Was there a disclosure signs that this would be happening? I don't know.
You're really lovely because you're trying to protect your agent who's naked in the property, by the way. So way to go. You're an awesome broker. But
we're going to send Damien an email and we'll ask him and let you know.
We just read the rule.
All right,
NAR's practice of standards, and NAR says that you should dress appropriately for work. And I do believe that NAR would probably consider being naked not appropriate. Angela says maybe it's time to update the code of ethics and office policies to include this.
I've also would like to point out I've never heard Craig quiet for longer than 15 seconds before. He really didn't know how to respond to me just now. He's probably like, why did I let this chick come to my office?
Well, you're not naked. I mean, you're not. Yeah. Catalina says, Damien would have a field day with this question. Did you text him? I'm dying to know.
No, I sent him an email.
Okay, so I need a favor. We have a bunch of people watching. If you're watching, just throw something in the chat. Like, I literally don't even care what it is. I really want this video to get like really, 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 really big, like as viral as possible, because we have to find this girl, you guys. Like, we have to figure out if this is an urban legend or if this is a real thing. This is crazy.
The homegirls are on a mission to find this chick.
I mean, I kind of love her, but like, this is okay. I feel like this is, if you have children, right? This is one of those situations where your kid does something that's really bad. Like, your kid goes, oh shit. And it's really bad, but it's also really funny. And so you really struggle with like, do I yell at them or do I laugh, or how do I yell at them while I'm laughing? Like, that's kind of what I feel like this situation is like, because I kind of love her and she's doing something that clearly has an audience, and she's doing what she needs to make money and provide for herself. And I don't even know if it's like illegal or unethical or what it is, but at the same time, like, if my sellers called me and told me that someone was touring people through their house topless, I would die laughing. And then I would have to be like, oh, that is not okay. We have to do something about it.
I would die. Like, if my seller called me and was like, Jess, there's a naked chick in my house. I wouldn't be able to compose myself. So, and then I would start with all of my really bad 13-year-old jokes that
Do you think they would be angry? Because I'm sitting here trying to figure that out too. Like,
if who would be your seller?
Yeah, like, I think it depends on the client. Like, I definitely have clients that probably would think it was hilarious, and then I would definitely have clients that would be really upset.
So the guys I was with yesterday, initially they thought it was really funny. And then by the end of the conversation, when they had really like talked through things and thought about it, they were mad. And so my opinion is that would be the exact same track that a seller would take. Like, in the beginning, they would be like, you know, like my seller, that they were on the couch with their feet kicked up watching TV. Like, her first text, it was kind of funny. 30 minutes later, she was livid. So I think it's kind of the same, like, incredulous first reaction. And then you're like, you know, what the actual fuck are you doing?
I mean, these are people's
homes. Correct.
Like, people live
I'm sorry,
there.
like, sexual activity in any nature in your home that's not performed by you is a violation, I feel like, in some stretch.
Well, I think that agents in general, and definitely the public, don't have enough respect for the fact that they're in other people's houses, right? Like, it's not like you're driving someone's used Toyota down the road. Like,
correct. You're in my personal space, in my personal home where I'm raising my family and have my children. And
yeah, my underwear are in there. God knows what else is in there. Don't touch my shit and behave, right? So yeah, what about cameras in the house? So we talked about this a little bit. I mean, it's a good practice. I think it's a mandatory practice at this point in time in 2021 and into the future, to assume that you are 100% always being videotaped. Yep. I go into every single property with that assumption. The actual answer, we talked about this, is that those sellers have the right to record and do whatever they want to on their property. It's just not admissible in court. So if they caught her on camera doing this, they couldn't, I don't know what they could do with those recordings. Like, they could send them to the real estate commission, they could send them to the ethics board, but if they wanted to sue her, those are not admissible in court, right? So, you know, it depends on what you're capturing on the videotape, I guess. Like, if it's evidence for something really serious, you're not going to be able to use it in a courtroom. But I mean, you have to assume that you're being videotaped in this day and age. So does she scout out properties that don't have Ring doorbells and that aren't videotaping? I don't know. Ange says, I feel like we know enough people on OnlyFans that we can do a recon and set a showing. Yeah, we're gonna find her. I kind of love her, but I don't know. It's a little crazy. I mean,
I really wish that I could see Damien's face when he opens my email, because it's going to be amazing.
Damien's our attorney here in Colorado. If anyone's listening that's not in Colorado, he's like the best number one real estate attorney in the state. I just don't. I don't know. I don't think it's illegal.
I think it's, like I said, at worst, it's an ethics violation and a fine. I don't know if I think there's anything illegal about it, though.
But can you find someone and hold them in breach of ethics if it's not like a rule? Like if there's no rule that says you have to wear a damn shirt, do you see what I'm saying? Like I'm sure there's something that says behave and act appropriately, and by far most people would probably assume that that's not behaving and acting appropriately. Do it, Angela. Message the Colorado Association of Realtors.
Yeah, do it.
We don't want to get this girl in trouble.
No, I just want to ask Damien what his thought is.
We don't want to get her in trouble. We just want to know.
Well, we don't even know if she's real.
Yes, that's true.
We don't even know if this is real. Like this could be some perverse fantasy that somebody has. This is a service that is offered and somebody took this and ran.
But is the source like, is this something that sounds like it's like they thought it was like well known, or do you think it's something someone just literally made up?
I don't know. I think that it sounds so crazy it's probably real. That's what I think.
Or it could be that someone has an OnlyFans that does all kinds of other things, and one person was like, hey, can you go show me a house topless? And then other people heard about it, and now it's like a thing where it's like people think that it's happening frequently. Yeah. Ooh, Sarah, this Airbnb stuff. Ooh, you could fall in a rabbit hole real quick thinking and learning about this. I think Airbnb had people recording such things and they made it against their policy and therefore illegal if they got caught. Yeah. So Airbnb did, I don't know the policy like word for word, but they did come out like a couple years ago, I think it was, and they said recording in these places is not allowed. So like, and that's a thing in general. You can't have a camera in a changing room. You can't have a camera in a bathroom. You can't have a camera anywhere someone is naked or nude or doing private things. But these aren't places that are bound by that. Like these are someone's homes. Like, fuck yeah, people have baby monitors with cameras on them in a child's bedroom. Lots of people have cameras in their bedrooms for whatever reason they want to have cameras in their bedroom. So like, we're not bound here by the same rules that we are like at a restaurant or a clothing store or something like that.
These are your personal spaces that you can do whatever you want in. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, this turned into a 40-minute conversation.
This is so interesting. I definitely want to know if she's real. My guess would be, I'm just guessing, but my guess would be like, because we did do a fair amount of work trying to find her. So my guess would be that somebody has an OnlyFans, and at one point some person was like, I would really like for you to go show me a house topless. And somehow, some way, the word got out about that. And now the story is that there's a person who does this like all the time. That's my guess, but I don't know.
Or maybe it was like a husband and wife team who decided to like spice their world up. And they did like this sexual fantasy where he was the buyer and she was the dirty, dirty realtor. And then it just grew and grew and grew. Like he bragged about it to his friends and then it turned into a thing. I have no idea. I do think that it sounds so crazy that it's probably true. That's what I think.
I think it's got to be true. I'm only so quiet because I keep trying to Google her. Topless realtor, Colorado.
She can't advertise herself just like anywhere.
No, but I just want to say.
What did you
FYI, if you're advertising with SEO, which is search engine optimization, which is like how you appear on the internet, you should probably go and Google yourself and just like make sure that you don't pop up number one in an advertisement when someone Googles topless realtor in Colorado.
If you Google me, the first thing that pops up is a chick named Jessica Lentz in Minnesota, I do believe. And she like robbed a bank and beat up her husband. So that's cool.
We have an article about nudists in Boulder where the housing authority is telling them that they can't be topless while they're outside their homes. And it looks like they won that fight, which is quite interesting. And then we have another article. So this one was a big deal. I've seen a couple things like this in the last couple of years, but this agent in Houston went viral, like to the freaking extreme.
I remember that.
Naked people in her listing
photos, right?
Yeah. And I always wonder, like who is it? Can you see my screen? Like, who is it that like what seller lets her do this? Because like I can't even imagine going to my sellers and being like, hey, I want to put naked people in our ad. But this went like viral, and she sold the house like quick, multiple offers, the whole deal, right?
Like, remember the house that had like the 50 Shades of Grey room in it? Like this, I would say to my sellers of that house, like, let's just go all in because everybody is going to talk about it anyways. So let's have half naked people in your property to really just like go all in on the marketing. But just like a random house, like I could never imagine.
So this is an article about a realtor who's a nudist in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So a Florida realtor who specializes in selling property to nudists is seen on the job in a new 2-part fly on the wall show titled Buying Naked. The episode's premiering on TLC. See Jackie Youngblood, an active nudist herself, meeting with clients and talking about life in Pasco County, Florida, the nudist capital of the world with almost 150,000 non-clothed residents. So like she's actively showing them properties.
She has her niche.
A press release for the show states that finding residences for nudists is no easy feat, as a sharp counter corner and cramped kitchen alleyway can injure the house's inhabitants without the barrier of a basic t-shirt. But I mean, if they're filming a TV show for TLC and there's waivers signed, right?
There's legal,
yeah, I feel like that's a different story.
I think that the way around it would be like, remember at the beginning of COVID, to show property, we had to sign all those COVID disclosures whenever we walked into a house so that the listing agent had them. My guess would be it would need to be something similar to that, where that agent would send the disclosure over to the seller and the listing agent, and then they can opt to sign it or not to. I bet that's probably what Craig meant. Which,
so
if the seller agrees to it, then hey, whatever.
Here's an ad for someone, 310. Is that California? I feel like I'm not sure 100%. But here's an ad for a topless realtor in California. So like, yeah. Oh yeah, no, we just delved right into porn. Be careful.
Your targeted ads just changed a lot on social media.
I know, right? Free peep show with purchase. I don't I don't know how I feel. I mean,
well, on that note, Catalina, I think we're out.
I don't know how I feel about this. Like, I am dying to meet this woman. I totally think that she should come on our show. We will block out her face and her boobies if she would like to.
We won't do it live. We'll do it recorded to make sure that you're super protected.
I don't know. I mean, like, how can you, like, this is the world that we live in now, and how can you blame someone for
making money
to support themselves, right? Like, but I don't want to deal with it as a listing agent. Like, I don't want to have that happen to my sellers and have my sellers get really upset about it, because I mean, I'm just even trying to think of how I would feel if someone did that in my house.
I would feel very violated. I mean, that's just how I would feel. Maybe it's dramatic. I don't know, but like, there's no reason for anybody other than myself to be wandering through my house that comfortably. I mean, I
don't even walk around my house topless. But I've had people poop in my clients' toilets, clog the toilets. I have had people microwave their coffee or their tuna sandwich in my clients' microwaves. I had people pull off my career Marine's American flag off of his front door and stomp on it and spit on it and then put it back in the flag holder, all caught on camera. Just a couple weeks ago, I had somebody into one of my sellers' houses where her children were wandering around trying on my client's 8-year-old daughter's clothing. Like, people do weird stuff. And as a general rule, maybe everybody should go back and read that standards of practice from NAR thing and like act right. Because I do feel like I would be more upset about you touching my personal belongings than you being topless.
Mm-hmm.
But to some people, and rightly so, that would be abhorrent. Really bad.
Yeah, I would not be okay with it.
Catalina says, for me, I do feel like it's a violation of privacy for my clients and should fall under professionalism in our code of ethics.
And I think that that's what I was trying to say, like at the beginning of this. Like when I say an ethics violation, this is what I'm talking about. Like it's the professionalism for me. It's that's what it comes down to, right? Like if you want to disclose to the seller and the listing agent that you're doing this ahead of time and they agree to it, then at least you're being professional, right, about what you're doing and what your intentions are and what's going to go on in the seller's home. If you're doing it behind people's backs or you're doing it without telling anybody, I think that's where things begin to get a little bit dicey. Just like we tell our sellers on their property disclosure, disclose. It's the same thing to me.
Yeah, I mean, she could be super smart about it. We have no idea. If she exists, she could be getting waivers. She could be going into vacant properties only, which still that property belongs to somebody, but they're less likely to be like recording her, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what I would charge for that because it would be a hell of a lot of money to ensure that I didn't lose my real estate license over my tatas.
Or she's listening to this right now and she's going, oh my God, I have to revamp my whole business. I don't know.
We have to find her. So I hope that everyone that's watching, we're going to post this when we're done. And I hope that everyone shares it so that we can make it go viral and find this person, because I don't know why. I just feel like we have to find her. I have so many questions for her. I mean, it's like, there's so much that goes into this. Like, it's brave. Women being sexually empowered and doing what they're doing to earn a living, it's brave. And if that's what they're going to do, that's totally fine. And none of us have any right to judge anyone about anything. But like I said, I don't want to deal with it on my client's side. Because I feel like if I had not just heard this story as a like, does this unicorn exist? And it was a seller who was calling me to tell me this woman is walking around topless in their house, I would have a completely different reaction to that.
Mm-hmm. But now we've prepped you guys that there's a possibility that this goes on now. So once again, you're welcome. We have helped position you to better handle your buyers and your sellers.
We're a bunch of 5-year-olds in case.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, on that note.
We were supposed to be talking about the Department of Justice lawsuit today, but instead we heard this story and just had to dive into this for no particular good reason except for that it's wild.
Yeah. We were also supposed to talk about more than one story, but I think this one was so like, what the hell? And if you guys were watching last week, Greg, the guy who created that viral video, who is now on Inman News, and he was on a couple of a couple of national TV shows over the weekend. He has agreed to come on our show. So that was the other reason we kind of tabled the DOJ conversation until we can get Greg on here. So we're working on a time to do a live with him. He's very adamant he wants to do a live because he feels like he's being censored. And so we are working with him to bring you some juicy stuff that we're not going to say anything about. We're just going to sit here and nod and smile while he talks.
Juicy. I hope she comes on the show. I hope we can find. I hope she's real. I don't know. I think that that's a weird, like that's like a hell of a story to just make up.
Yeah. And I wish you could have seen these guys. They were so cute and like so good looking. And they were like, oh my God. And then they're trying to tell me, and they realize like my husband's standing there, and like they got very flustered very quickly when they realized like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said this. Maybe it's really disrespectful. And I was like, no way, like tell me, because we're totally going to talk about this.
Maybe she's just going to the houses with the white rocks. Do you know about that?
Mm-hmm.
So in Colorado, we have this other, which I'm pretty sure is true because
it's true.
It's true. But we have, like, apparently in Colorado, if you want to designate that you're a swinger, you put a white rock in your front yard.
But like a giant white rock, like one that like needs to be, lifted onto the property, not just like, one that looks like a seashell on your front porch.
But I mean, maybe she just goes in the right spaces. I don't know. It's pretty wild. April says, was this a story from a client selling their home? No. So Jess was at a golf tournament yesterday, and there were some real estate agents talking about this woman who has an OnlyFans account who shows properties topless. Upside down pineapple. Yep. That's the other one too. So yeah, I've
also heard flamingos, which like that would make us a swinger since I have flamingos all over, which that's not true. So
I don't even understand the point of it either, because it's not like you're gonna, like, if you are swingers, drive down the road through a neighborhood and like see a white rock and like knock on people's doors. Like those people, they're a real community. They know how to find each other.
So here's one last story while we're on this track. Before we get off of here today, there was a property here in Castle Rock where I'm at, and they would have orgy parties at this house where people would every way they would walk up with like their crock pots, and they would have literal parties. And the reason it all got found out was because the neighbor found out about these parties and was livid. Absolutely livid. So she created a document that was filthy. I'm talking filthy. One of our friends got a copy of this document on their door, and she left it on everybody's door. And it was about all the rules of the sex games and where you were allowed to have sex and not have sex. It became viral. You guys can look it up. Avery Way in Castle Rock, Colorado. It went everywhere.
Party, like literally
parties, and we would joke and say they were bringing like, those little like miniature wieners for like protein and sustenance. Like it was a whole thing here for like a long time. Well, the house went on the market not long after all of this went down because
I showed it 3 times.
Well, and the owners were being harassed.
I showed it 3 times while it was furnished, by the way, and my client kept asking to keep the furniture. And I was like,
here's the document. You do not want to keep the furniture. But it turned into this really ugly negative thing is the moral of the story. And it was a huge deal. And it was kind of in this, relative kind of same space situation, and the owner's argument was
hell out of the property, by the way.
Well, and the owner's argument was you have Bible study at your house and you have book club at your house. Like, why can't I have my orgy club at my house? And is he wrong? So that HOA had to go back through their bylaws to figure out how do you address this, because it wasn't an HOA violation, just like this woman that we may potentially be talking about who may or may not be real. How would NAR address that? Because there's no actual written violation addressing this. So it's kind of the same thing, and just another weird real estate story. That's
like Catalina said, they'd probably go after her for professionalism standards.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, it's just such a weird, like, it is illegal to be naked in public, but it's not in public. So I don't know.
But
All
is
right.
it? I mean, like, that's where the gray line is. Like, I don't know. It's not your house. It's not your space. Like, I don't know.
That was a hell of a tangent. I love you guys for hanging with us through this because that was really, really silly. But, you know, there's a lot of serious stuff going on in the world. Sometimes we just got to talk about something that's a little scandalous and fun. I'm going to post this. I would love for you guys to share it because I want to find her.
Yeah.
And see what she has to say.
Yeah.
All right. Love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
On. Bye.